Have you ever seen a man so wicked that even his own shadow refused to follow him at night? That man was Baba Agbónná, the most feared herbalist in the history of Olowu village. But wait first, he also had 2 children. And trust me, these children, they were walking comedy shows. Their names: Kola and Bimbo. Now grab your seat, because this story will make you laugh, shock you, and still teach you a lesson you never forget. Long ago in Olowu village, there lived a man whose name alone could silence a crowd. His name: Baba Agbónná. He was a herbalist, yes, but not the type who healed headaches or gave herbs for childbirth. No. Baba Agbónná specialized in wickedness. If evil had a university, this man had graduated with first-class honors. His shrine sat at the very edge of the village, a crooked hut covered in red cloth and cowrie shells. Skulls of goats and chickens hung from the doorway like decorations, and strange chalk markings covered the ground. At night, the smoke from his pot would rise, calling into the air like restless spirits. Even the crickets were quiet around his compound, like they too were afraid to make noise. If a woman's farm was flourishing, suddenly, her yam tubers would rot overnight. If a child was laughing too loud, by morning that child would be struck with fever. And if a man dared to boast that his household was blessed, the next week, his roof would mysteriously collapse. Baba Agbónná lived for the suffering of others. Their tears were his music, their pain his joy. But here's the strange part: this devil of a man had 2 children. The first, Kola, was tall and restless, with a face that always looked confused, as if his brain was still searching for the password to life. The second, Bimbo, was short and round, but with a mouth sharper than fresh pepper. If sarcasm was a weapon, she would have been a warrior. Whenever their father was busy brewing evil, these 2 were busy arguing. One evening, Baba Agbónná was preparing a potion with a dead lizard, bitter kola, and black powder. He muttered dark incantations, lightning flashing in the distance. Kola peeked through the door and whispered, "Oh, see Papa mixing lizard stew again." Bimbo smacked his head. "Stew? You think anybody can eat what Papa is cooking? Keep quiet before he uses your brain as ingredient." Even though they were scared, they could not resist making fun of their father's wickedness. But what truly made Baba Agbónná dangerous was not just his charms, it was his hunger. The more fear he created, the more powerful he felt. And one day, after hearing the king was planning a great festival, Baba clenched his fist and growled, "So they want to celebrate peace. They will learn that as long as Baba Agbónná breathes, this village will know no peace." And just like that, the stage was set for his greatest and most terrible plan. The festival of Olowu was only days away. The king had declared it would be a celebration of peace, a time for drums, dancing, and feasting on yam, palm wine, and goat meat. The whole village buzzed with excitement. But while the people prepared, in the shadow of his crooked shrine, Baba Agbónná prepared something else. Wickedness. Baba Agbónná sat on his raffia mat, staring into his cracked mirror, which still refused to show his reflection. His voice was low and bitter. "They want to dance. They want to sing. As long as Baba Agbónná breathes, there will be no peace. I will turn their festival into a funeral." His eyes glowed faintly red as he struck the ground 3 times with his crooked staff. The clay pots in the shrine rattled as if invisible hands were shaking them. He reached for a black gourd carved with strange markings. Into it, he poured ashes from a burnt bird, a drop of goat's blood, and bitter kola crushed into dust. Then, he dropped the dead lizard inside and began to chant, his voice rising like thunder. Smoke hissed from the gourd. A shadowy shape slithered inside, growling faintly. It was a spirit of destruction, hungry, restless, waiting for Baba's command. Baba Agbónná laughed wickedly. On the day of the festival, when they beat the talking drum, this spirit will rise and strike them all down. The king, the drummers, the dancers, no one will escape. But while Baba Agbónná was lost in his wicked joy, his children, Kola and Bimbo, were crouched just outside the shrine, listening. Kola scratched his head and whispered, "So Papa wants to destroy the festival. But that means no free food for us." Bimbo rolled her eyes, "Free food? That's what you're worried about? He wants to kill everybody, and you're thinking of goat meat. Kola pouted, but the goat meat will also die. Bimbo smacked his arm, you're hopeless. Still, they both knew something had to be done. If Baba succeeded, the whole village would suffer, and so would they. That night, while Baba Agbónná left the shrine to gather more herbs from the forest, Kola and Bimbo sneaked inside. The shrine was darker than usual, the air heavy with smoke. At the center sat the black god, faintly glowing, its surface covered in strange carvings that pulsed like veins. A low growl rumbled from inside it, as if the spirit was impatient. Kola leaned forward, eyes wide with confusion. So this small calabash would destroy the whole village. Bimbo folded her arms, yes. Papa's charms always look foolish until they start working. Don't touch it. But Kola was restless. Maybe if I shake it, the spirit will fall asleep. Bimbo shouted in a whisper, are you mad? Do you think it's a baby you can rock to sleep? Their argument grew louder, the god vibrated on the mat, and a faint crack appeared on its surface. The growl inside grew sharper. Bimbo gasped, grabbing Kola by the ear, if this thing breaks, you better start running before Papa uses you for sacrifice. But Kola, rubbing his ear, mumbled, maybe it's already too late. And as the god pulsed with light, the air in the shrine thickened with the promise of chaos. The children had interfered with a power they did not understand, and the festival was only one day away. The drums were thundered that night. Dun dun. Gong gong. The air itself was dancing. Women twirled in wrappers that sparkled in firelight, men stomped their feet, and children clapped, laughing like little birds. Palm wine flowed like stream after rainfall. The king sat proudly on his carved stool, nodding to the rhythm. But then, it happened. A shadow fell across the fire. The drums faltered. Dancers froze mid-spin. From the edge of the square, a black mist began to rise, twisting, writhing, forming a creature with glowing red eyes as large as calabashes. The crowd scattered in terror, screaming as goats broke free of their ropes, and even the drummers ran with their talking drums underarm. The king leapt to his feet, his core beats clattering. Who has brought this abomination upon my people? His voice cracked the night, trembling with fury and fear. And then, like storm rolling in, Baba Agbónná appeared. His crooked staff glistened with charms. His red-rimmed eyes shone with madness. His grey beard shook as he threw his head back and laughed, yes. Today, you will all bow to me. Even your king will crawl like lizard before me. He raised his staff high, chanting words of power, his voice booming across the square. But instead of obeying, the spirit turned, and stared at him. A deep rumble shook the earth, like 1,000 Iroko trees groaning at once. Before anyone could blink, the spirit lunged, wrapping around Baba Agbónná like smoke around firewood. He staggered, choking, his staff clattering to the ground. He screamed, no. Obey me. I am your master. Just then, panting and stumbling from the bush, came Kola and Bimbo. They arrived just in time to see their father rolling in the dust, screaming. As the spirit dragged him like ragcloth, Kola froze, wide-eyed. But Bimbo. She folded her arms sharply, tilted her head, and with the sharpness of pepper soup, she said, Papa, even your evil spirit knows you are too wicked. It's rejected you. The entire square went silent for one heartbeat, and then exploded. Villagers clutched their stomachs, laughing through their fear. Even the king covered his mouth, struggling not to laugh aloud. The great Baba Agbónná, brought low by his own spirit, while his daughter mocked him in front of the whole world. The square fell silent except for Baba Agbónná's cries as the spirit dragged him in the dust. Then the king's voice rose like thunder, seize him. His guards rushed forward, their spears gleaming, their red wrappers flying as they pinned Baba Agbónná to the ground. He spat and struggled, but the spirit squeezed tighter until his voice cracked like broken calabash. The villagers, their fear now turned to fury, stormed Baba Agbónná's shrine. They smashed clay pots of blood, tore down charms of feathers and bones, ripped apart his hidden calabashes filled with skulls and ashes. Women spit 3 times on the ground, muttering, good riddance. Men dragged out his baskets of juju and hurled them into the fire. Sparks leapt into the sky like angry stars. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, the spirit unraveled. Its smoky form shivered, broke into fragments, and rose into the night like mist after rainfall. A cool breeze swept through the square, carrying away the darkness. For the first time in years, the air felt clean. The people cheered, some falling to their knees, thanking Olowu. The king stood tall, pointing his beaded staff at Baba Agbónná. You who turned your knowledge to wickedness, hear my judgment. From this day, you are banished from this land. Step foot here again, and lightning itself will strike you down. Baba Agbónná, broken and shaken, was dragged away into the forest. His cries faded into the night, swallowed by the trees. As if to wash away the evil, the drummers picked up their sticks. Dun dun. Gong gong. The talking drums sang louder than before. Palm wine flowed again, roasted meat sizzled on open fire, and laughter returned to the square. The people danced even harder, declaring this the greatest festival their village had ever seen. And in the center stood Kola and Bimbo, their heads held high, suddenly treated like heroes. Kola puffed out his skinny chest, waving his arms like a warrior. If not for me, this village would be finished. I was the one who faced the spirits head-on. Bimbo snapped her fingers, rolling her eyes so hard they nearly touched the back of her head. Ah! If not for your foolishness, nothing would have even started. It is me that saved the day. The villagers burst into laughter again, some chanting their names, some shaking their heads. And so the story of Baba Agbónná ended, not with his power, but with the wisdom, courage, and foolishness of his own children. The villagers whispered among themselves, shaking their heads, so all these years, we feared him for nothing. Look how evil eats its own master. Because that's the truth, no matter how powerful evil may look, it always turns back to destroy the one who carries it. A knife may cut yam, but the same knife will cut the hand that wields it without care. Olowu village learned that true strength is not in dark powers, but in unity, in courage, and in the laughter that holds people together even in fear. As for Kola and Bimbo, those two never stopped arguing. Kola still boasted to anyone who would listen, "Me, I am the hero of Olowu. If not for my bravery, the spirit would have swallowed everyone." And Bimbo, sharp-tongued as always, would reply, "Hero. If not for your foolishness, nothing would have even started. It was my wisdom that saved us." Sometimes they argued until villagers held their stomachs laughing. But whether it was Kola's empty boasting or Bimbo's sharp retorts, one thing was clear: their comedy had brought courage, their foolishness had brought wisdom, and together, they had saved Olowu village forever. And that, my friends, is why till today, when the drums beat in Olowu, children whisper, "Remember the wicked herbalist," and the kids who taught us that laughter can chase away even the darkest night.